Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name is Nick Engvall. I'm with my guys Robbie and Mike to talk some kicks. How you guys doing?
I'm good, man. Still no complaints here. How you doing, Robbie?
I'm good. I'm kind of upset with myself because I missed all of the Kobe stuff from The Last Dance. We were sitting in that middle weird time between 4:30 and 5:30. Like, do we go grocery shopping? Do we stay at home? So we waited too long and messed the timing up. But I'm good. Caught the rest of it.
I mean, you could always go back, right? Like I've been seeing the reruns. Yesterday when I turned on ESPN, the replay started playing because I started watching it a little bit late. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think of this episode? These episodes, I should say.
I think I enjoyed this second one more, where it kind of got into like the more of the, I don't want to say struggle, but I guess it was more the struggle of Mike and, just how the media started really just kind of just laying into him because, just like they said in the show, like once you get so great at something, people want to watch you fall. And that was kind of they're trying to press so hard at him to find any little thing. And it was just interesting to see his take on the whole, how everyone talks about Mike and his gambling and all that good stuff. And I don't know, you can see how that at that point would kind of drove him out of the league the first time.
I feel like they shied away from how, I guess, the book Jordan Rules, and there's, a lot of accounts of him and his gambling, but I feel like the documentary really, really downplayed it. In that same breath, he's right. There's nothing illegal about going and betting money. If you're like betting on dogs, like dog fights, that's different. But like betting on horses, your golf game, football, this, that, and the third. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's so jarring to the early 90s people or media because, Michael Jordan money was a lot of money. And it's the average person comprehending like, oh, $57,000 in bets. Like, this guy must have a problem. It's like, yeah, maybe he likes gambling too much, but 57,000 to MJ is like chump change. You can even tell by the way he was betting $20 on quarters, with the security staff and the United Center locker room. So it's like it's nothing. He will bet his socks if that's what the bet is. It doesn't matter what it is. Is that having a problem? To a degree, but is it like a quote unquote gambling problem to where it's messing up your life? Definitely not. But I think there was more to it than what they were leading on.
Definitely. He never went past his means. Some people, when you have a gambling problem, it's like, oh, you're gambling more than you have in your bank account. Like, he never went to the sense of like, I can't remember who said it on there, or if I was listening to Charles Barkley on another interview, it's like, hey, he did it and he never missed work. He never, was, asking for money or anything like that. I mean, that's the one thing he liked to do. I mean, I'm sure I think there's way more to it than what we see, but I mean, I like that they even attempted to bring the human side out. Like, hey, this guy had a potential struggle.
So I agree with Robbie. I think they shied away from it quite a bit, and I think that one thing that gets dismissed over time is that you have to remember that this whole situation is happening in 92, 93, 94, right? So if you think about the relationship basketball to baseball was massively popular around this time, and Pete Rose, I would say undeniably the greatest hitter and one of the best baseball players of all time, was banned from the game because he was betting on the game. So I think there's like a huge heightened sensitivity to gambling. I would relate it to the way that even just smoking weed has become like a normalized thing. And I think that gambling, thanks to, online betting and all of the stuff that goes on now, has become more normalized over the past, 20 years, 30 years. But in perspective, if you're looking at the four major sports in America, having arguably the best baseball player, or at least the best hitter of all time, getting kicked out of the game for gambling. Granted, he was gambling on games he was in, but in the same way that Jordan said, he's always betting on himself, right? Like, it's not about throwing a game. That's not, these guys are competitors on the highest level. But to think about that, the NBA had to be so scared of the possibility of where this whole thing could have went for Michael, right? Because with Pete Rose getting banned in '89, you're still 2-3 years. You're only 2-3 years away, I should say, and it's already obvious at that time that Michael Jordan is the best thing to happen to the game of basketball in history, right? You could debate whether, he's the best player of all time, the one-on-one conversations, all that. But without Michael Jordan, there's no global NBA. Like, there's no – Kobe even said it in that episode. Without MJ, there's no Kobe. And, Kobe's success over in China, LeBron's success over in China, all those things happened because Michael became the first fully global icon in the sports world for basketball, right? And so I think they kind of have to shy away from it because, one, Michael doesn't want to talk about that stuff very, very in depth. Two, if it gets too deep in the weeds and people start pulling up old conspiracy theories and all this stuff, because I'm not 100% sure that I believe any of the stories anyway. I still think that, there's a good possibility that he owed the wrong people a lot of money, and, you can take that where you want to take it with the things that followed in the next 2 to 3 years. But to me, this whole documentary has been really interesting in a sense that as much as there's a lot of the back and forth and a lot of, I would say, kind of drama or dramatized drama, it still seems like the whole idea behind it is to just retell the story of Michael Jordan to the best, in like this giant PR stunt kind of way. Granted, like I'm eating it up, but I'm at least conscious that, hey, Michael's just going to make a ton of money off this documentary. I did see that he's going to donate some of it, but which, I commend him for that. And, I thought the other interesting thing about this episode was talking about the politics, because it's something we've talked about on the podcast many times. It was a different time. I think we all, the people that I know would have wished that MJ would have come out and co-signed people. But at the same time, the same way Barack said, you got to respect that he was still trying to figure out his own personal brand as all of this kind of stuff was becoming more of a priority for the world, when he was so focused on basketball and endorsements and just like competition. So I don't know. I still am hooked. I still think the show is great. It's just, it's, I think we talked about it a few episodes ago, but I'd just like for him to get deeper in the weeds on some of this stuff. And maybe that's the 30 for 30, series getting me all hopeful that they're going to really dig some stuff up, but I'm still enjoying it regardless.
Yeah, it got me hooked every Sunday. So I'm always in front of the TV, whether it's after I recorded or when it's live, but I haven't missed a Sunday yet.
Right. I mean, I said this last episode, but the Monday morning really shows that everybody loves Michael Jordan. Like there's the Good Morning America follow up every morning. It was Stephen A. Smith last weekend. I think it was, I don't know who it was this time. Was it Spike Lee this time?
Yeah.
Just like Scott Van Pelt doing like a 2-hour recap after the episode. That's not literally 2 hours, but it's just like, it's really fun getting the 2 hours of documentary footage, but all the rest of it for the next couple of weeks is just like, man, we get it. Like the documentary says enough. We get the documentary exists because we love Michael Jordan. And it's just like the parade ends never. It feels like and that's why no one will ever be better than LeBron. Even like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar fans out there, like they don't get a say, because no matter what anybody does, no matter what this documentary shows, it's still 6 rings and 6 tries, double three-peat. Like no matter what you do, like that's just what gets thrown out there. And I feel like this documentary is just gonna dig those heels even further into the ground. Because I don't feel bad for Michael. And again, I'll keep bringing up LeBron, but it's like I don't feel bad for him having to deal with the media and feeling sick of it. Like the president tweets at LeBron James saying he's trash. Like it's crazy the level of how media has changed, not just in sports, but media overall and how we treat celebrities. It's way different. It was so new back then. And it's just like my sympathies are low, but in the same breath, it's like nobody had ever been like Michael Jordan. Maybe Michael Jackson at that point had like that level of everybody going insaneness when they entered a building. But boo-hoo, Mike, like you're rich. It's like it's tough. Like giving up your privacy is nothing to be downplayed. I totally get that. But it's just every time they try to make you feel bad, it's like there's nothing I feel bad about Michael Jordan. I feel bad he lost his father, but that's life. Like everybody loses family members. Like he's had a very, very, very good life with these little media hiccups. It's like, please.
And I think the thing about what you're saying is like those two things can't exist, right? The money comes because of the popularity. The brands that are paying him, there was a quote in there that from David Falk saying that, Nike wanted to sell 3 million shoes over the first 3 years and they sold 120 something million in the first year. Mm-hmm. And, that kind of popularity is what drives the dollars behind him as a brand and gives him, the ability to have, to be multi-billionaire now in his life. So I do agree, like the privacy thing, it sucks if you're a professional athlete or a public figure in any way. People don't know how to draw those boundaries, but at the same time, that's part of the sacrifice that you kind of know you're getting yourself into by becoming this, as they put it, put on a pedestal.
Yeah. And I mean, just kind of circling back to both those points, listening to like how they go back to whenever he got drafted, whenever he was in college, all that stuff. There was never any reports, or if they didn't show him. It's like, oh, can he live up to Magic Johnson's legacy, Larry Bird's legacy, Oscar Robertson's legacy? There was none of that back then. They compared, he did this similar to this person, this similar to this person, but there was nothing like LeBron and Kobe or, KD have to go through now. It's like, oh, well, we're going to draft him and see if he can be the next Michael Jordan. I mean, literally, the most recent example we can look at is Zion. Oh, he's built like LeBron. He can be the next LeBron. Michael Jordan didn't have to live through that. He didn't have that. He had his own personal, monkeys on his back to be the best, but he didn't have, a gazillion people on Twitter, every talking head show telling him, oh, well, he did this, but just not as good as Mike. Like, he didn't have that. And I guess you guys said it best. I kind of wish he would take a step back and was like, maybe what I went through was not nearly as bad as what these guys have gone through now.
So I think a lot of it is how sports are covered. And Michael Jordan changed the way sports were covered. That's why there's books written about him while he was still playing, because people wanted to see other sides. Now we see every side of every story, as minute or as important as it might be. Like, I like to think, so I wasn't watching SportsCenter, Nick, you can confirm this, but I feel like it was a lot more sports driven. Like, this is what happened in the Rangers game. This is what happened in the Laker game. This is what happened at Wimbledon today. It's like very matter of fact. And it would be more to the local news stations, like the WGNs to be, and like the local Chicago Tribunes and stuff, having the locker room stuff and more of the intimate stories of what's going on behind those teams. But now it's full access 24/7, no off seasons, and a perpetual news cycle. So yeah.
You're 100% right. And I think the other thing that's crazy about now is you have 50 people that have access 24/7, right? You have all these kind of like sideline hustler type, blogger, vlogger, whatever. And, looking back to that era, the thing that was really, and I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but the thing that was really fascinating to me is, you didn't get to watch every game until that time, right? Like, even if you were like the crazy, Celtics Lakers rivalry and a fan and lived in the market for either of those teams, you didn't get to watch every single game. And WGN was one of the first channels to actually televise, to have a separate deal to televise on cable almost every game. What I don't think people realize, because we see so much now, imagine not being able to watch Magic Johnson play every single game. You might have got to see him once a week if you had regular TV, maybe twice a week if you had cable. If you were really lucky, you might see him twice a week. But with Michael, you had access to almost every game, every season from 86 687 on, right? So it really did change everything about the way we consume sports because it was exciting enough to watch every single game. And then, like you said, Robbie, I think ESPN, kind of realized, hey, we can incorporate some of this like more localized stuff. We can get access because the teams wanted the exposure on ESPN, right? I don't know if we've seen it in this documentary yet, but if you watch any of the basketball documentaries on guys from this era, they wanted to see themselves on the highlight reel, right? Like I think players still do, but like it was like really special back then to be, one of the top 10s or whatever. And now I think that happens instantly, right? You don't need to wait for SportsCenter to see the top 10s. It's already been reposted on Twitter 1,000 times before the next play is even over.
John Morant can miss a dunk and it shows up.
Yeah. But dude, if you weren't named Ahmad Rashad, you weren't getting the access like everyone gets now. Like you're saying, there's like these bloggers and stuff everywhere. It was amazing how that like he was like the one person that most of the basketball players trusted to be around them.
So Ahmad's a gangster.
I mean, he did have Bill Cosby and O.J. Simpson as his groomsmen, right? So
it's kind of like a big deal back then. That was kind of weird to look back at. It's like, oof.
Yep.
Oh, man, he was the voice of reason for two allegedly troubled individuals. I'll be really
troubled's a nice way to put it.
What's crazy though is as a basketball fan, Ahmad Rashad from covering Michael Jordan and having all that access, right? Mm-hmm. Michael talked to him specifically. Michael talks to him about the Jordan 1s at MSG, his last game there, right? Uh-huh. That is just unprecedented access, and him as a journalist and as a host is like superstar beyond everything, right? But I don't even know that most people, a lot of people probably don't even know that he was like a 4-time Pro Bowler, man. He was an amazing wide receiver, but it's just crazy to me that he's just known as a journalist almost, or known as a face of sports kind of.
Oh no, you're the face of sports reporting. I'm kidding. But, as a segue here, that last Madison Square Garden game, Chicago 1s are now going for like $1,200.
Yeah, you showed me that. You sent that. I was like, so we weren't expensive enough already, huh? All right, cool.
Man, hashtag blessed to have gotten those at retail from the Nike Twitter days when they had the tweet links. Dude, I got those.
There was when the All-Star game was in Houston. What was it, 2013? Yeah, I think it was 2013. They had like the Foot Action by where I lived had this massive restock of everything. And then they released the Thunder 4s. And to this day, I am mortified because I bought the Thunder 4s and left the Chicago 1s there.
Nah, you didn't mess up too bad. You're right. I mean, we all have those purchases.
It was a better buy.
Nah, man, Thunder 4, other than the horrible cracking on those midsoles. Very, very good shoe. But, I mean, shoes are just subjective, so it's all a matter of, like, how much you care and how familiar you are with them. Which kind of brings us to our main topic here. Peter Blackburn of NBC Sports wrote a really cool article that I enjoyed reading. Air Jordan Rankings, a guy who knows nothing about sneakers ranks all 34 from worst to first. And I was cracking up. We'll link a description to the article on this episode. But this one-liners for days, and it really makes you think about how, to the untrained eye, shall we say, the untrained sneakerhead, I can totally see how we ranked these shoes and how they could be unappealing from somebody who doesn't care. So,
yeah, that's fair.
Right. With that said, the first one here is one I think everybody would unanimously put way higher than 34. The Jordan 16. He said, "Cool Batman suit. Where's the rest of it?" And I was like, okay. We're off to a good start, but what do you guys think about that shoe being so low?
Well, it shouldn't be that low. I mean, I think middle of the road would have been better for it. The snarky side of me is like, well, you're stupid because the Jordan 6 was the Batman shoe. But that's me being a 5-year-old child. So
And caring.
I mean, I love like shrouds and anything that covers laces, zippers, all the crazy stuff. So like this just automatically gets thrown way up the list for me, but I could see how it kind of does look like something Batman would wear.
Right. From an outsider, it's a patent leather toe, some crazy tooling, and a big ass shroud. Like that's a hard sell to the general consumer, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There's 34 of them, so we're not going to go through every single one in detail. At 33, we have the Jordan 15. I think we'd all agree that's towards the bottom, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be mad at that one because even to sneaker collectors, it's like, what were you doing?
Yeah, right.
Well, and his quote is really good on this one, too.
Yeah.
This is an anvil, not a shoe, which I always thought if you were just to cut that awkward tongue off, it would look a lot better.
So before we move on from the shoe, so there's a show, I got to get you guys the title of it. It just slipped my mind, but there's a show on Netflix that does spotlights on artists and creators, and they did an episode on Tinker, and he actually talked about this shoe. The guy, the reporter handed, or the interviewer handed it to him and said, hey, this is one of like people you unanimously don't like. And he talked about it, and he basically was saying that was like a hard time in his life when he created this one, and the hard time in like everyone around him. So that was the story around. He's like, no matter what people say about it, he's like, I will always take pride in the shoe because I knew what was happening behind the scenes. So just a little tidbit of information.
Yeah, so that's called it was called Abstract: The Art of Design.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. I think Tinker's on episode 1. Maybe we should do that as a short Netflix party.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
That'd be kind of cool.
That's a really good one. We should do that. I watched that one before too. It's a good watch. So I mean, 32, Jordan 19. I put the Jordan 19 super high up there. That's just because I'm impartial to it. And then 31, Jordan 14, and then 30, Jordan 2010. Any thoughts on those three? 19, 14.
14's way too low on the list. I mean, yeah, that's just too low on the list. 30, I can kind of see it because that was kind of a odd-looking thing at the time. But I feel like even just a normal person, if you're just a sports fan, the 14, you knew what the significance of it was. And just a normal person, like, ooh, I know it. It's kind of cool. I just think it's too low.
I mean, I just don't understand how the 19 or the 2010 gets placed above the 16. Like the 16 is like smooth looking silhouette to me. So yeah, I don't know.
So go ahead.
I will say him asking what the hell is that design in the front? Is it a fencing mask, a Bluetooth speaker? Will it strain my pasta? On the Jordan 19 is pretty hilarious.
Right. And then on the 14, and this is so true because it's based off of a car, right? The Jordan 14 Ferrari.
Yeah,
so
Ferrari.
I can only assume the sneakers worn exclusively by people who have motorcycle jackets but no motorcycle. I was like, I can totally do. I'm going to keep playing the advocate of somebody who doesn't know anything about shoes. And the 14, those hard lines with the perforation, that's a tough sell. The shroud on the 19, very tough. It does look like a pasta strainer. And the 2010, I could see him putting the 2010 highest of those shoes so far because the novelty of it. If you have 6 shoes you all think are ugly, but one has a hole in it, a window. Oh, okay, it's a window. That's kind of cool. It's higher than the others. That's just what I think he would think. So next up at 29, we have the Jordan 21. Not very attractive. Then we have, I guess, the first really scandalous entry, Jordan 28. I guess the 14 is a scandalous one too. But at 28, we have the Jordan 13, and 27, the Jordan 2009. The 2009 is before the 13.
I don't know, man. It's hard for me to talk about this list because I can't get into that mindset of like not like, oh, I just don't. If didn't like him, what would I see? I don't know.
I just love that
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just love that he, like, for the 2009, the quote is, "I just can't get past the green thing on this one. It looks like the indicator that hovers over selected characters in The Sims. This is a Sims shoe." Like, it kind of does.
It so does.
You thought real hard about that too.
I never thought about that, but now I can't unsee it. And every time I see that shoe, I will think of The Sims. But it's interesting to see the 2009 and what they did with the 34. There's this, it looks similar in technology on the outsole with that window area where it's open. They finished it off on 34. But it's interesting to look back on that and see some of the similarities. But that shoe's ugly as hell. I think the whole sneaker community can agree that the 2009 was not the finest hour of Jordan Brand.
So I'm one of the few people that actually like that shoe.
What?
I don't like the white colorway, but the black colorway I thought was really good.
It's so.
I do think that it would look better if that heel piece was extended to the front and it was complete. But yeah.
Nick, go ahead. Get you the black ones. I think they're still on sale at Foot Locker for some strange reason. They have like a bunch of pairs in large sizes just chilling in the stockroom somewhere.
That's a fact. I found you can find some funny stuff on East Bay and all those websites. But all right. So we have 21, 13, and 2009. Up at number 26, we have the Jordan 23. 25, we have the Air Jordan 30. And 24, the Air Jordan 17. How is the 17 24, but then the 16 is last? That's funny to me. But the Air Jordan 30 has a funny description. This thing is straight out of Black Mirror. And it's like, yep, I can definitely see that being a futuristic Black Mirror dystopian shoe.
Yep, definitely.
Well, like the 26 or the 23 description is an ugly Christmas sweater sneaker. If you look at the patterns on it, it kind of looks like a Christmas sweater. So I give them that one.
Up next, we have there at 23, the Air Jordan 18. It's getting hard with all these numbers. So 23, Air Jordan 18, 22, Air Jordan 10, which in my opinion is placed in the right place. And then 21, the Air Force Skin, the Air Jordan 28.
I mean, the Air Jordan 28. So his comment on the Air Jordan 28 is, listen, I have enough trouble remembering to zip up my fly as it is. I don't need to have to remember to zip up my shoes. Fair point. Totally fair point. But clearly he has never played basketball, because if he did, the 28 was the first unlock Zoom shoe, right? And I would argue that aside from the Shroud, it's probably the best Jordan shoe to hoop in. Still, just my opinion, but 28 SE, that's what I want to hoop in every day.
Dude, yeah. See, he judged a lot of these by colorways too. If you look at the comments, so I feel like if they would have given him more colors, would have been probably some different order going on. But I wasn't a big fan of the. Oh, geez. What number? I jumped myself. Oh, crap. I lost myself. The 18. Wasn't a big fan of 18 because it was just a lot of suede. So, I can put that wherever. Jordan 10, I actually really love the Jordan 10. People know that. So that's way too low for me. And I'm with Nick. Like the 28, 29 were like the best basketball shoes I ever played in. So, you just got to get him on the court. He'll change his mind.
Yeah, the 28 is an all-time performer. I went to a Jordan Brand event release for that shoe in Vegas, and it's probably one of the most fun times I've ever had in shoes. That was a really great event. The 18, I really kicked myself in the butt about not buying one of those orange, blue, or yellow pairs from like 2 years ago. But he does a good job of picking or being shown the definitive colorway of each model. So it's not like they're picking some obscure colorway. It's going like the definitive look of each shoe. So here at Jordan 20, at number 20, we have the Jordan 12. I think we have a lot of naysayers to that selection. At 19, we have the Jordan 34, further proving how good that shoe is. And then at 18, the Jordan 22, which is laughable when you look at the shoes above it. But yeah, the Air Jordan 34 has a description. Jordan tries Molly once and makes that shoe. It's the iridescent and white pair, so it is kind of out there. But that's a beautiful, beautiful shoe. I would put it, top 15. Definitely top 15 for me.
So yeah, the Air Jordan 12 at 20, and his comment is, "This one is so boring that I can't even think of a clever way to roast it. I will fight you. Where is this guy at? I will fight him." Like, it's ridiculous. This shoe is beautiful. Like, what? Boring? Oh.
He's taking a road trip. Well, the thing about that comment for me is that he's kind of contradicting himself, because the things that were just a lot of things happening, he's like, "Ooh, no, too futuristic," or "No, it has a shroud on it." But this one is too simple. So I'm just trying to figure out where his mindset's at this point, because he's just a walking conundrum.
So we think it's a conundrum, but for someone who doesn't know shoes, this is just pure gold, because, I could see how it could be boring. It's just black and white with some lines going through it. But that's the beauty of the 12, is just how simplistic, and just the line work of it's very good. But it's all a game of perception. The Jordan 22 being at number 18, I think, is the most jarring pick of the entire list. Because right up there with the 2009, and one that'll come up in a couple, one of the absolute weirdest ass Jordans. And I believe it had the pods you can remove from the outsole. Just out there. So at 17, we have the Jordan 2, which I think the Jordan 2 is ugly also. I know its importance. It's cool. But from a looking standpoint, I think that's too high. At 16, the Jordan 9. And at 15, an abomination, the Air Jordan 3 at number 15. And he says, "I feel like it would be a really nice looking shoe if it wasn't wearing bondage straps."
Which I didn't even understand that comment.
But it's funny.
I mean, it's funny, but I was like, well, there's shoelaces on here. I don't understand the rest of what he's looking at, but I mean, yeah. So the Jordan 2, I think that's kind of unanimous, just with generic people, like sneakerheads and regular people. Jordan 2 gets no love at any point. I mean, I like the lows better than the highs, but dang, this shoe is just like the butt of jokes. Jordan 9, that's a decent spot. I don't like the Jordan 9 that much, so Jordan 3 should be top 2, top 3.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a sneakerhead, the Jordan 3 is way up there for a lot of people. But I always think of Sean Collard with the Jordan 2, because he's such a big fan.
Yeah.
But so when I first read this whole article, this was the first point of the article that I started to think that maybe it was written by somebody that knew the shoes a little bit, because the quote on the Air Jordan 2 at number 17 is, "The design of the black part at the bottom makes it seem like this sneaker is trying so hard to be a dress shoe, which it is clearly not. Just be yourself, man." Which makes me think, like, does that really look like a dress shoe? Is that, to me, it doesn't, but I also, have been staring at Jordans for 35 years. So, I don't know. I just started to question the legitimacy of the claim, but we can move forward.
Aye, Captain. Up at 14, the Jordan 29. At 13, the Jordan 20. That's a crafty choice. And then at 12, one of my most slept on Jordans ever. I will go to the grave loving the shoe, the Air Jordan 2011. Rest in peace, the Eastern Conference All-Star colorway I had. They're white and blue. I trashed them playing outdoors, and I donated them. I loved that shoe, man. Great shoe. Beautiful shoe. Look at the line work on that. Gorgeous.
That's one I wish I would have bought. Like right before I left Champs, they still had some randomly in the storeroom, and it had like it was the white and black pair, the white and red pair, and then the triple black pair, and it had the little drawers. They had the interchangeable insoles or midsoles. Yeah,
Yep.
Missed out on that one. Still sad about that. Jordan 20, I just don't like. Jordan 29, I love that shoe. So me being super biased, I would have had it way up there just on pure performance alone.
So I thought the comment on the 29 was hilarious. It says it says this one is neat because they scaled the logo to match your mom's iPhone font size. And then the 2011 actually has a great one too. This shoe got the Stone Man disease from Game of Thrones. Rest in peace. Totally accurate descriptions of both those shoes. But I'm a big fan of the 2011 as well. I've got that All-Star pair. Like it's a little beat up. I played in it a little bit, but I just love those shoes. Like I thought the uppers being like completely different on every one was really dope.
There's a really good black and electric green colorway. God, I wish I had those.
But I remember that.
A humongous box. I hate big boxes. And the 2011 had a big ass box. So at number 11, we have the Jordan 5, 10, the Air Jordan 31, and at number 9, the Jordan 6. So it's interesting to see the Jordan 31 so high. They tried to make that look like the Jordan 1 or pay homage to the Jordan 1. And to me, you can clearly see it. But that bread colorway, that release one that's pictured here, that's a phenomenal shoe, man. I really wish I got that one. The flying it to like the synthetic back, the really beautiful fade, the kind of hidden swoosh behind the Flyknit was really cool. That was just a fantastic shoe. And when I look at it next to the 5, apples to apples, I think it's prettier. I like the 5 more, obviously, but I can see why the 31 is so high up.
Well, I don't feel bad now when I tell you that it was like Saturday or Sunday. I got caught in a rabbit hole of looking for good prices on Jordan 31s for some reason. Don't know why. I just got caught in like the YouTube like rabbit hole. I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna search." It was but yeah. I mean, I can kind of see that. I mean, to a person who has, again, I'm trying to see through these people's eyes, but yeah, if you don't know what's going on, I mean, if you see the 31 and then the 5, you're definitely probably going to lean towards the 31. It was like, oh, well, there's less things going on here. But he, what do you say? The congrats on being the only pair of Jordans with the flame decal that was ripped off a minivan. Like, dang. But yeah, I mean, whatever he says.
I mean, I'm not as big of a fan of the 31 as you guys, but I mean, the 5 is definitely one of my favorites. The 6s are definitely one of my favorites. I did think the perfect shoe for any nerd who can't decide between Spider-Man and Venom for those black and red 31s was a pretty good description. It does look like the perfect balance. Yeah, exactly. Right.
But I mean, the Jordan 6 being in the top 10, I think that's pretty cool because the tongue is a hard sell for maybe people who aren't familiar with the heritage or just like the model. That's a rubber 2-hole tongue with a clipping mechanism. That's a crazy ass shoe when you think about it. So from here on, I'm going to go by 2s. So the Jordan 1 coming in at number 8, which from somebody who doesn't know shoes, I don't understand how the Jordan 1 wasn't number 1. It's the most approachable shoe, I would argue, of all time. And then at number 7, the craziest, wrench in the gears of all of these, the Jordan 2012 at number 7. I remember that shoe selling, and well, to more accurately, I remember that shoe not selling and people picking it up and being like the Stormtrooper shoe, which is the same comment he makes. What are these Stormtrooper interchangeable, like, because we always showed him at Foot Locker with the super high tongue in it. And that thing was ugly. Like nobody wanted to buy it with that high ankle. And I don't see how that shoe could be number 7. That's just nonsense.
Yeah. It definitely was
definitely
going
to have to agree with you on that.
It was one of the ones I wanted just because of the I wanted this because of just the insole changing and like that you can do the different color heights, but other than that, no, that's a pretty ugly shoe.
So I think at number 6 is another ugly shoe. Brian from Wear Testers will swear by this. It's the Jordan 32. It performed really well, but the ribs on it, I don't like ribs on my shoe. Big reason why I'm not a huge fan of the Air Jordan, the Air Max 2090. So it has like that ribbed heel. Never liked it. But at number 5, the Jordan 4, which is, again, one of those really approachable shoes. And he says, I feel like this one actually might be a transformer in disguise, but it's hot regardless. And the heel and the plastic clips on the laces, I can see the transformer vibes. But the Jordan 4 being the 5th best shoe from somebody who doesn't know the brand, it's commendable. I'm not going to hate on that.
Yeah, I think it says a lot to the design of that shoe, right? Like sneakerheads, basketball fans, and people who don't give a shit about sneakers all can agree that that's a good looking shoe, regardless of the plastic tabs and the heel tab and all that stuff, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I was actually surprised it made it that far up the list. So, yeah, just shows how interchangeable a shoe can be.
I always thought of the 4, even though it's before the 5 and the 6, was a much more refined shoe than those two. Like Tinker tried to push the envelope on the 5 and the 6, and I think the 4 was the perfect marriage in the early years of tech, performance, and looks. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just wonder what made Michael go back to a high top, because I know he wanted with the 3 and the 4, he wanted the 3/4 top. I wonder what made him go back up to the highs with the higher collar with the 5 and 6 and 7 and 8.
Trying to get higher in the playoff rankings, man. At number 4, we have the Jordan 33. At number 3, the Jordan 11. So, I mean, I think anybody under the sun would probably put the Jordan 11 as the top 3. It's an iconic shoe. There's not much else to say other than it's perfect. And then the 33 being at number 4 is very interesting, because I would think that the pull to release laceless system would be pretty tough for just the casual person to enjoy. But at the same time, it's really different. It's experimental looking, and it looks like a shoe from the future. And 2020 sounds like the future, right? So I can see how that shoe could be so high up.
I think the description for that one was
the 33
pretty.
and 3 would have been exchanged.
Wait, the 33 and the 3?
Go ahead, Nick. Yeah, so I thought he had the 33 at 4. I thought that would actually be exchanged with the actual Jordan 3 would be at 4, and the 33 would be wherever he had 3 at.
Gotcha. Yeah, like 14 or 15 or something.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like he would change those out.
I just think like the 33 is just I don't know, it's just an interesting shoe to me. And I could see how it kind of just looks intriguing, even if you're not into sneakers, because it's so different. And the colorway that they chose to, with that little bit of hit of gold on the tongue, it's something. There's something about it. But his description, if you took the sensuality of a saxophone and turned it into a sneaker, this would be what it looked like. It's pretty accurate. This was another one of those. The Jordan reading through this list initially, the Air Jordan 11, the description he leaves is obviously, I have no idea what a classic pair of Jordans looks like, but I feel like this is probably a classic pair of Jordans. Makes me again wonder how legit his lack of knowledge is. But I will say that it's one of those things that even if you're not into sneakers, you probably have seen the Jordan 11 just because of how massively popular it is every holiday season.
And so Tinker was going for luxury, obviously with the patent leather mudguard to make it look more like a dress shoe. But Jordan Brand, to anybody, and even within the sneaker community, Jordan Brand has a level of prestige to it, right? And they fought very hard to have that kind of pedigree to the brand, kind of going back to why Michael Jordan isn't very political. Republicans buy sneakers too. Like the Jordan 11 looks like a premium shoe. When you hear Jordan, Air Jordan, you probably imagine a premium shoe. So for somebody who doesn't, know what a classic Jordan looks like, I could see how that one would fit that mock-up. When you close your eyes, you're thinking basketball shoe, high top, but you're also thinking luxury and, iconic. I mean, iconability? No, that's not a word. But it's just like that shoe looks like it could be something special. I think I would still feel that way if I didn't know shoes, right? That makes sense?
Yeah. I think a lot of people do. They're just, like I said, they're just iconic, like sneakers. No matter you know it, you don't, you can walk by like, oh, I remember that from this year. I mean, I know the name of it, but I remember it.
Mm-hmm. So these last two shoes, I really just want to rub in your face because on our Patreon episode from a week or so ago, we talk about the best shoes of Michael Jordan's championship years. And I put the Jordan 7 and 8 very high on my list. I think I put them as the number 1 and 2. I'll have to go back and check the tape. But I know I put them as top 3 of the 6. So at number 2, we have the sensational, unparalleled Air Jordan 7. And then at number 1, straps and all, the Air Jordan 8. And he says, I would wait in line for hours and or get beaten up for a pair of these. I don't like the 8 that much, but it just goes to show. Those are the shoes of Michael Jordan outside of, the 1 and the 11. Like the 7 and 8, they weren't the first championship shoes, but that's when he had arrived. Like the Laker victory was like the first world tour. And after that first world tour, everybody wanted to go see him on tour next. And the 7 and 8 were the encores. And they were just, I love those shoes. They're so comfortable. They're so distinctly 90s. And that's what he says about the 7. I may not know anything about Jordans, but I know a lot about the 90s. These were most certainly made in the 90s. That is certainly a compliment. And that's just awesome. Like the colorways of the 7 and the 8 were so 90s. Everything about it says Saved by the Bell and Fresh Prince. It's just awesome.
I was convinced that you actually wrote this list until he said you would get beaten up for him. I was like, nope, Robbie's not going to get in a fight for any 8s. But I was like, Robbie has some input here about these 8s.
So I think the 7 being up there is, I don't know. It's pretty good. The 8 is definitely not the best Jordan of all time, in my opinion. But both of those shoes being up there, the 11s being up near the top, are all kind of like, okay, you can see how this works. My like end all commentary on this whole list. One, it was really well written. So shout out to Pete Blackburn of CBS for writing something entertaining, even though he's not a sneaker guy. My biggest question, though, if you're a sports writer, how did you avoid? On top of that, I looked him up, and he's from Boston. He's a sports writer from a sports town, right? Boston is heavy into sports. How do you become a sports writer from Boston and not have any knowledge of sneakers or not have some connection to sneakers? especially because, like he's probably, I don't know how old he is, mid-20s or something. There's got to be some connection there. But I digress. That's not what this conversation is about. I just thought it was really interesting after I looked him up. So we'll link to the article in the description because it's definitely worth reading. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. I think it's just like when I collect more than just sneakers, and it's just weird because I guess maybe back in like years ago, people would have these same kind of thoughts about like I collect comic books too. And I don't ever really see like people just like, oh, this is weird. But I see like I guess because I don't people are so used to just like wearing shoes that they think is weird. So I always get a little like, but why? Why is it such a like a I guess I don't see what people think is weird if people collect a lot of other things and I don't really like poke fun at them. So I was like, yeah, I guess, guy, if you really felt like you had to write this.
So this article really inspired me to make you two talk about Jeremy Scott's with me. I really want to do like a ranking the Jeremy Scott shoes.
I mean, I'll do it.
Oh, I'm so in. I'm so
in.
I actually like a bunch of those weird ass shoes, so let's do it.
Dude, I like them too. I would never wear them, but God knows I'm very intrigued by over half of them. Like they're conversation pieces. So
100%, yes.
Maybe we'll make that a Patreon exclusive episode. So if you're still listening and you're like, man, I don't know if I should be on Patreon or not, but I love Jeremy Scott. That's a very niche listener. But if that's you,
yeah, we'll definitely have to do that in the next week or two.
We forgot to do another review, but people are leaving reviews, and we really appreciate you guys. Maybe we'll do 2 next time. We'll read 2 of them to make up for these ones we've been skipping.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. All right. Anything else on this article before we wrap it up?
Go buy a pair of Jordan 2011s and you'll be a happy camper. You'll be like, damn, why did I not buy these when I was a kid or when I was younger? And also go buy a pair of 20s. The Jordan 20 doesn't get any love. It came in at 13 on this list, but I know it retroed a couple years ago. And I feel like it doesn't get the love for the shoe that still costs over retail on eBay now. What the fuck? I mean, it drives me crazy when I just like think of Jordans, like the 20, the 22, the 19, a lot of 14s in the past couple years, and those 15s and the 18. Those shoes were all at outlets. You could not give them away. But when Robbie's had a couple glasses of wine and is on eBay and wants to maybe buy a pair of them, they're over retail. Like, what the hell?
Well, stay on the lookout because I think Jordan 20s are releasing again in some colorways soon this year in the next few months. So keep an eye out. If you really want a pair at retail, I think they're going to be sitting around.
Retail. I don't want to. Man, it's just like those shoes. Those shoes should be free as like. Okay, there should be like a stimulus package by Jordan Brand. It's like if you own over 15 different models of Air Jordans, you get these 5 for free. Like,
that'd be nice.
Hey, I would totally be down for something like that. I'm happy to buy the shoes. Honestly, I just want access to the airship so I can at least have that shoe stashed away. But I feel like
it's an unlockable character. You have to unlock all the other characters.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to get the rest of the characters first.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you everybody for rocking with us, listening to us. As Robbie said, definitely check out our Patreon, and we'll get back to reading the reviews on the next episode. And definitely check out this story on CBS Sports because it was really good. So we appreciate all of you listening. My name is Nick Engvall. You can find me at Nick Engvall on all the platforms. More importantly, just follow Sneaker History on all the platforms. And guys, let them know how they can find you.
Yeah, Mike Guillory. You can find me at Mike Guillory on YouTube or Instagram and Twitter at MadWatcher789. And guys, go join our Sneaker History Run Club. We just got the page up today, or I guess you're hearing this I think you are. We got it yesterday. So go join it. Let us know how you're running and staying sane and in shape during the quarantine times.
You can find me at RAHBEE702. And thanks for listening. Nick, where can they find you, sir?
At Nick Engvall, NickEngvall. And appreciate all of you listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See you.
Later.
What up, y'all? This is Nick again. First, I wanted to thank you for listening to the Sneaker History Podcast. It really means a lot that you would spend a part of your day rocking with us. Before you take off, I wanted to ask a few favors. If you're looking for more content from the Sneaker History crew, head over to patreon.com/sneakerhistory. Our Patreon members get access to exclusive episodes of the podcast, our latest merch, giveaways, and much more. You can become a member for as little as $5 a month, and it really goes a long way supporting the crew. Next, make sure you're signed up for our email newsletter. We share updates about the footwear business, some of our favorite finds and deals, and other sneaker-related news a couple times per week. I like to think of it as a one-stop shop for the sneaker game, or at least a work-in-progress one-stop shop for the sneaker game, if you know what I mean. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. Whether online or in person, social distancing in effect, of course, it helps make the sneaker community a better place, and you never know what conversation and opportunity might come from it. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.